Welcome to the LZ Sports Show. I am your host, Mark Adam, and it's just me today. I've been abandoned by everyone. I hope you're watching Mr. McKnight. No, he had a previous commitment. It was planned. So I don't want to make him feel really, really bad, but it is just me today. We're going to be going over I got a bunch of notes, and I was talking with Keith McKnight, my usual co-host, and a little bit Zoner last night, getting their thoughts on how they saw the game going and all that. So we will be jumping right into that. But first up, as usual, we got to hear from our sponsor. So we'll be right back in about 30 seconds.
Make your house a better place to come home to with Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We've been delivering complete customer satisfaction for over 40 years. Whether it's a fully completed backyard escape, a completely renovated bathroom, or a premium upgrade on outdoor furniture, Aqua-Tech is the only name you need to know. That's because if it's an Aqua-Tech job, it's an Aqua-Tech team working on it. No outsourcing, no subcontractors. We do it all. Visit our one-of-a-kind showroom today at 1065 Dugald Road. Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We create better places to come home to.
Thank you very much to our sponsor, Aqua-Tech Pool, Spa, and Bath. We greatly appreciate them. And I wanted to point out that the game last night didn't go very well, so this might not have a ton of happy things. But I wanted to start with some positives. So I thought I would start with who I thought really played well. And honestly, I thought Harkins had a great game. I know Mason Appleton had some flurries and some good stuff, but he's really got to, as I was talking to Zoner last night, he was even saying, like, he has to start producing, especially with Ehlers out of the lineup and Lowry out of the lineup and all this stuff. He's gonna be getting a lot more ice time until those guys are back. So I really thought that he didn't buy into the negative attitude that a lot of the team had last night. So kudos to Jansen Harkins for playing hard. Really like to see that from your guys. He did what was asked of him, and he had a lot of great forward presence. He had some nice hits, some great forechecking. He had a couple of chances to pass on net and shoot on net and all that kind of stuff. So I really thought that went well for him. So I did also want to point out for those watching, there is a little chat box, this black void to my left. You can fill it with your thoughts. If you join us on the YouTube chat, you can type in your things and they populate here. So go ahead and get on that. Say hello in the chat. While we're at it there, the other positive coming out of this is that this is the first time all season the Jets have had a 4-game losing skid, period. It's happened to almost everybody else, but not the Jets. And that was something as well that Paul Stastny even said last night. He said, it's happened to everyone else, and it hadn't happened to us yet. He also was pretty self-actualizing. He realized where the mistakes were and knows what they have to do going forward to fix some of those things. And he even said, sometimes the bounces go with you, sometimes they don't, but they haven't been playing very well, and they've been getting away with it, was one of the other things he did say. I thought a very neat quote from Andrew Kopp was, he said, strap on your balls and let's get going, or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote that he said, but it was something to that effect. And I thought that was a very poignant point. So, strap on your balls and get to work was what he said. So, they realize that there is work needing to be done. And again, going back to what Paul Stastny said, he even said, we leave Hellebuyck out to dry on a lot of occasions. So that's something that they are aware of. And when you win the games, as he said, you don't really notice the bad stuff. You remember the good stuff. So it's one of those things where you gotta buckle down and just shake it off, as Hellebuyck tends to do a lot. He's not had the greatest run in the last few games, but he's been quite the quite the anchor for this team. Going to the chat box, Carrie Bulkowski, thank you for joining us, by the way. How's it going, Carrie? I thought Dubois, other than one flagrant giveaway, played heavy and was strong on the boards. Would like to see more of that from him. Absolutely. The problem is those giveaways happen on a every game basis with a few different players, and Dubois is unfortunately one of them. The other guy that's really guilty of it is Poolman. Those two guys give the puck away a lot, and Ehlers actually went through this phase of like 6 games where he gave away a breakaway in each one of those games. It was just insane. So yeah, I agree. I would like to see Dubois do more of that hard checking, hard looks kind of play. He's capable of it. He also has very, very silky hands when he wants to. When he gets the opportunity in front of the net, he's proven that he can do a lot of damage by just his stick work. So yeah, if you want to talk more positives before we get into all of the craziness of that game, then yeah, I think a lot of what Dubois did there was good. Yeah, and Poolman, I don't know what his deal is, but there was a lot. I know a lot of fans that were part of the games. The chat that I was in. They were really critical of Poolman's play, and when Scheifele got benched, the question was then, well, not why did Scheifele get benched? Nobody was angry about that. Everybody sort of understood what was happening there, but at the same time, why wasn't Poolman benched if that's how you're going to play it? He's been a little bit lazy. He's been not finishing checks. He has reminded me a lot of Beaulieu before Beaulieu got hurt. So it's not a flattering comparison for Poolman, I know, but he's just making weird decisions and taking high risk chances that just don't need to be taken. So he's just not got his head in the game. But yeah, Dubois overall, I thought he had probably a good game. But the problem was, and we're going to get into this, last night, every single mistake that the Jets made, the Edmonton Oilers made them pay. Every single time there was an errant pass, every time that anything bounced any kind of wrong way, one little lapse in judgment, goal. That's what happened last night, and that's gonna happen to you sometimes. I think this is the first time all year Hellebuyck's given up 6 goals. So let's have a look at the game stats while we're talking about this. Here is the game stats here. 6-1, obviously super unfavorable score. Did manage to pot one on the power play, and even then, that looked like just a lethargic effort from Scheifele. He, the puck sort of bounced to him, and he recognized he had the open net, and he's like, "I guess I'll score." It just had that "I don't care" feel to it at that point. I think it was 5-0 at the time, or something like that. So, it's hard when you look at these stats to sort of justify any kind of positives. They kept hitting, I guess, 32 hits and all that. But then when you look at the score sheet, this is where the problems arose. McDavid with a 4-point night. And, the internet calls him McCheatCode. And I don't think there's a more appropriate name for the guy right now, the way that he's been playing. So, I don't know. They have to figure out how to deal with him, especially if this is going to be a preview of the first round of the playoffs. They have to figure out how to make this guy work. They just have to. And I don't know what it's going to take. To be honest, I really don't. The guy is so quick. He's so fast. He just reads the game well. How many breakaways did he have last night of his, of their making? And, in the chat, we got, Carrie Bulkowski saying, got to cover that guy. But, that's harder said than done. It's easy to say, he's going to pass it to Draisaitl or vice versa. They're going to pass it to McDavid. But when it's happening on the fly, they're just so fast. You can know it's happening before it happens, and it's still going to happen. So you really have to figure out a way. And I thought Neil Pionk has done the best job containing McDavid this season as for the Jets, but he wasn't really paired up against him at all last night. I don't think I remember one time where Connor McDavid ran into Neil Pionk, because Neil Pionk had been giving him problems. He's speedy as well, so the speed advantage of Connor McDavid isn't quite as, obviously he's faster than basically anybody on the ice at any given time, but I really thought that would have looked a little better had it been Pionk. He would have at least had a little bit of a step, an absolute chance. That there were two of those McDavid goals, he was being chased by Poolman and not even close. It was a runaway race to the net. So that's a little rough, but it is what it is at that point. Looking at these stats here, Mike Smith has been playing possessed hockey. We'll get to that later. But first of all, and first and foremost, the McDavid, McCheatCode, the hat trick, you got an assist as well. But you got to stop giving the guy breakaways. I know he's hard to cover, but giving him the puck at their blue line while he's already in motion the other way, you're never going to catch the guy. It's never going to happen. Not one time. Name a player in the NHL, in the entire league, that can catch that guy when he's got a step on you going the other way. I can't think of a single name. Not even Nathan McKinnon. You got Connor McDavid going the other way on the fly, and you're caught flat-footed. I don't care who you are in this entire league, you are not catching Connor McDavid. He'll go end to end on you without blinking. And it's, it doesn't help that we're making tape-to-tape passes to the guy's stick. He didn't even have to work for some of those. It looked like it was a breakout pass coming out of the zone from them, but it wasn't. It was a giveaway at the blue line. And Kyle Connor was guilty of it again last night. So more so when they're on the, just reading Kerry Bilkowski's comment here, more so when we are in the offensive zone, he's always cheating up, and it's like we didn't recognize that, and he burnt us over and over. Yeah, exactly. He's always cheating up, but he doesn't really have to cheat up. He sees what's happening, he skates in that direction, and when the puck comes to him, which the guy's got vision, so it eventually will. Off he goes, and you're never going to catch the guy. So Connor McDavid was an absolute phenom in that game last night, 100%. The other side of things is you just can't give him opportunities. He will, on his own, he will change the play. He will change the way the game works. But you got to stop helping the guy. Honestly, you got to stop helping the guy. So that's one thing that was a huge factor in last night's game. I want to talk about Mark Scheifele. He has not looked himself in the last couple of games, and he, in particular last night, he just seemed like, I don't know, he's going through some stuff, he's working some things out. There was no sense of urgency or caring on his face last night, and I don't know what that's about. Generally, he's got this very intense look. He was slow getting off the ice a couple of different times. And then, like I said, even though he scored that goal in the game last night on the power play, even while scoring that goal, he just seemed indifferent. And that's a problem when you got a guy like that, in that leadership role who isn't, he just doesn't have that intensity. That is what we saw with Dustin Byfuglien before Byfuglien had a leg injury that wasn't probably really a leg injury, and then he sort of wandered off into the night. So I don't want to see that happen to Mark Scheifele or anybody on the Jets. Something has to be done on this front. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what can be done, but something's got to be done to fix the way Scheifele is looking and playing, because he's one of the guys that the younger players are looking to. And Nikolai Ehlers is out of the lineup. He was sort of having a breakout season on his own. He's gone for the rest of the regular season, hopefully back by the playoffs. So says Mr. Paul Maurice. But I think Scheifele himself, he's a real big issue on that bench, because when he has that lethargic attitude, it's completely contagious. And conjecture last night, Zona was like, maybe he's got a groin pull or something like that. And I hope so, because that explains some of his lazy play, but I also hope not, because if he's not resting that and trying to get better for the playoffs, that's the wrong way to go about it, in my opinion. So it's, plus and minus right there. But so let's talk about Hellebuyck for a second. And this was a question raised last night by a lot of the fans in the chat that I was in, should the Jets rest Connor Hellebuyck for a handful of games leading up to these playoffs? Let him reset, give Laurent Brossoit some play time. He stopped every shot that was coming at him last night in the third period. He came in relief at the start of the third. Hellebuyck was not pulled during actual play. He was replaced at the intermission, which I thought was the right way to do it. And Paul Maurice spoke to that as well. Didn't want to make him do that skate. There was no need of that. At that point, the game was sort of out of hand as it was. No need to rub salt in the wound. So replace the guy quietly at the intermission. They're going to, obviously the announcers announce it, but it's a lot less disruptive to the flow of your game, even though the Jets, to be fair, didn't have a whole lot of flow going on last night. But, I thought that was the right way to do that for Hellebuyck. That was just the way to do it. And the question now is, should the Jets rest Hellebuyck? And I want to ask you can comment in the chat box if you're watching, or you can call us, leave a voicemail. We'll use those on the next episode. Should the Jets rest Hellebuyck? Should they? Because that would give him a chance to sort of shake some games off, take a 4 or 5 game break. There's 8 games left in the season now for them. So I think that might be a beneficial use of his time. And we've got a comment here from Mr. Bilkowski. He doesn't need a rest. He needs defensive help. And that, while I agree he does need defensive help, and the team recognizes that based on Paul Stastny's comments last night, we leave Hellebuyck out to dry a lot. So that is a thing. But I have to disagree that he doesn't need rest. I think the way he's played the last couple of games, letting in like three goals or more in the last 4 or 5 games, that can't trend that way. And he's generally pretty good at shaking it off and just picking it up and moving on. But that isn't what we're seeing from him right now. And maybe just, again, if you put in Laurent Brossoit, I really don't think that there's that huge drop in quality. I think that would be a big boost to Laurent Brossoit, giving him some opportunity before the playoffs hit, and we may end up needing him at different points and all that. But I do think that it shakes some of the bolts loose on Hellebuyck, and he can just sort of work on technique and the basics, the fundamentals, and all that. All the stereotypical cliches. He can go back to working on his fundamentals. But I really think that would be a good thing for Hellebuyck. And I do agree with you, Mr. Bilkowski, that he really needs help in front of him. And I think that Josh Morrissey has had a really poor season, and overall, but you're never going to see him get yanked because his experience is invaluable. But something's got to happen there. If he's your leader, as far as the way that it works, he's the oldest guy, the vet. He's been entrenched on this team for the longest time. I really think he's got to be better, and he's got to pick up the slack that the other guys aren't picking up. And Poolman, who I thought has had a pretty decent year overall, has not had a good game the last 3 games, I would say. And those are the 3 games that we lost in spectacular fashion. I really don't think he's had a very good run thus far. So, I don't know what's got to change on the defensive side. I know that a lot of the forwards have to start playing better defense. Kyle Connor has tried to help out the defense at points. At certain points, he's been in front of the net marking. Well, he's a winger. He's not really supposed to be there. And so he doesn't really know what he's supposed to be doing. And then when you got a Connor McDavid coming around the net, as we saw it not last night, but in the previous matchup with the Oilers, you see Connor McDavid coming around in the net. So then Kyle Connor jumps in to try and help out the defenseman, leaving a wide open Oiler right in front of the net. There's a goal. Done. So it's, I don't know. It's, I just don't have the answers. I would love it if you could call in or chat with us, message us on Instagram or whatever. It's all our socials I'll put up right here on the screen for you. Boom, right there. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Like and subscribe to these videos, by the way. Well, I'll just take a quick break here. Like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. There are tools that open up when we hit a certain number of subscribers that are not available to us until we hit that number. So liking, subscribing, it goes a long way. Would greatly appreciate that. But do hit us up on all the social medias with your thoughts. If you don't want to call or email the WPG Sports line, that's totally cool. And the email, by the way, is thelz@thewpg.ca. It's very, very easy. And that number I'll put back up on the screen as well, so you can give us a call, 431-800-4555. The big question today, should the Jets rest Hellebuyck? That's the big question today. Carrie Bilkowski in our chat box today says no. I say probably yes. Whether the likelihood of that happening, I would say, is very low. You don't want to shake the guy's confidence. I get it. But at the same time, the playoffs are coming and we need him on his game. So I think I'm leaning towards absolutely, so I'm already a yes. I could be convinced of no with the right arguments, but I'm leaning more towards very yes. So that was a big deal in last night's game, I thought. So another factor in last night's game, forget McCheatCode for a second. The other Oiler that was an absolute monster in the game last night was Mike Smith. The guy is working on 40 years old, and I think he's the oldest starting goaltender in the league, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not sure exactly what the age is of all the starters. I know there's some guys who are around his age bracket or older that are backups and playing some reduced minutes and all that stuff. But as far as starters go, Mike Smith is one of the oldest, and he is absolutely having a crazy good year. And that was another thing that stumped the Jets last night. They had, when you look at the shot totals again, they had all the shots that they needed. 37 shots on goal, right? 36 saves on the night from the older veteran. So, I mean, that speaks for itself. The guy is playing possessed hockey. I'm very impressed with his play. I'm very frustrated and annoyed as a Jets fan watching him play because there's I don't know what it is about him. We just can't seem to solve him. It's been Mike Smith and Jack Campbell that have been the thorn in Winnipeg's side this year as far as goaltenders are concerned. Generally, they score immense numbers of goals on anybody, but those two goaltenders for some reason have really been giving them problems. Let's talk about Ehlers for just a couple of seconds. There's not a lot of information out there, but he is out for the entire regular season. He will hopefully be back for the playoffs, and if he is, the question mark is, how is that going to look, and is that going to be a problem for him getting reacclimated and conditioning wise, because we don't know the nature of the injury. It's an undisclosed injury as far as I know, and they didn't really point to the play it happened on, so there's no real clues directly leading to what actually is the root and the cause of the injury. So knowing what we know about hockey, and they're not going to tell us anything. They're not going to give anything away. But when you say he's out for the regular season, that's a big statement. But when you're saying you hope he's back for the playoffs, that means they know what's going on. It's not some undiagnosed injury. It's just an undisclosed injury. So hopefully Ehlers is back for the playoffs. Lowry is still out, and we're trying to keep up on what's happening there. And when he's back, that's going to be a huge boost to this team. Just signed a contract this year, a great deal for the team. I thought that was a fair deal for him. I don't know. I like his play, and he's needed back out there. I do like seeing Jansen Harkins and Vesalainen get ice time. I really do. But at the same time, right now is not the time where you want to be leaning on those guys. Earlier in the season, you want to be leaning on them, flexing them in the schedule a little bit, and seeing where and when how they hold up to that kind of pressure. But now is when it's crunch time. It's a little late to be adding new blood to the lineup. So if last night was a preview of round one of the playoffs, which altogether likely it is, then the Jets have some work to do. They really have to figure out how to stop Draisaitl. They have to figure out how to stop McCheatCode, and they really have to just basically be better in front of their goaltender. The goalies on this team have, because I say goalies plural, because Hellebuyck has stood on his head and absolutely stolen games from teams that deserved to win against the Jets. But Brossoit has done the same in relief. He had a bad game or two, but for the most part, Brossoit, I thought his play has been great this year. I say give him a chance. We're back to, should we rest Hellebuyck? Give us a call on the WPG Sports line. I'd be very interested to know what you think. So call the number and email us. Yeah, they're on the screen at the bottom there. So looking quickly, in the division last night, there were two other games going on. We already know the 6-1 loss to Edmonton happened for the Jets, but Montreal beat Calgary, which is a big, big deal. We keep talking about the playoff picture, and I'm going to bring it up right here. So Montreal beat Calgary 2-1. So they improve they can now have 51 points. It's a 10-point spread from Vancouver, from Vancouver, but that's tricky there. Calgary is technically in that fifth spot, but based on their points percentage, because Vancouver has so many games in hand, Vancouver actually has a better points percentage at this time. So Vancouver, by the way, lost to Ottawa 2-1. So Ottawa has been trying to play spoiler as much as possible and take as many games as it can, 5-5-0 in their last 10. Vancouver has been just sort of playing mediocre hockey lately. Going into last night's game, they were sitting at 500 in the points percentage column, but the loss to Ottawa last night slides them back under 500. And Montreal and Winnipeg are sitting in a precarious spot at the moment, where I've mentioned on the show a couple of different times that Montreal and Winnipeg, that the points percentage, the average points percentage required to make the playoffs is .560. So Montreal is below that at the moment. Now they're lucky we're in a seven team division. So generally, 560, is the points percentage required to make the playoffs. But right now, Montreal is benefiting from the one less team in the division. They may actually end up making the playoffs. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. Winnipeg, .594, dropping under 600 for the first time this year, for the first time that I remember this season. So that's a bit of a big deal. And I don't know, 5-5-0 in your last 10 is not an impressive way to look at things. This entire division has been struggling. Even Toronto is 5-3-2 in their last 10. And they've got an absolute stranglehold on first. So it's a battle for second and third. And then the other battle that's happening right now is for fourth and fifth, technically between Calgary and Montreal. But I mean, this is a precarious division. And that line between the white lines and the blue lines is very, very thin. And with the number of games left, it could go either way. I mean, we could see Montreal drop out. We could see Calgary or Vancouver slide into that spot. And, I mean, if Winnipeg's not careful, there is room for them to slide out of there as well. So hopefully that is not the case. Going to the chat box real quick. Little thought here from Carrie Bilkowski. Obviously, we don't want to lose out this season, but if we do take a slide, do you think we stand a better chance against the Leafs in the first round rather than Edmonton? That is a good question as well. When you look at the way that we match up, Toronto seems to be a better matchup for us for whatever reason. We have an easier time containing the Marner-Matthews pairing than we do the Draisaitl McDavid pairing. But I don't know. That's a tough call. If we take a slide all the way to fourth, we have bigger problems, I think. So if that's I think you want to finish as high as you can, and if we end up in third, it doesn't change who we play. If we end up in second, it doesn't change who we play. That'll be an Edmonton first round, one way or the other. I know you're not suggesting that they purposely lose out, but if they do take a slide, that Toronto first round for the Jets might actually be easier than Edmonton, the way that those teams stack up against each other. And I don't know what that is, but it just is. When it seems like the Leafs have the Oilers number and the Oilers have our number, and we do pretty well against the Leafs, but it's tough. And when you look at the schedule that's upcoming for the Jets as well, let's have a quick look at what May has to offer, because we've got the game tomorrow night at home, and then we're off to Montreal for the last game of the month on the 30th. But then, we get to play out against Ottawa twice, Calgary once, Vancouver twice, and there is that one last game against Toronto, which should be a nice tune-up for the playoffs. To answer your question, Carrie, I don't know. That's a tough call. I think Toronto would be an easier matchup in the first round of the playoffs for the Jets, but that doesn't mean that between now and the end of this season, things don't change. So that's a very, very, very good question. And we'll pose that one also to the WPG Sports line. Call us 431-800-4555. Leave a voicemail, or you can email the lz@thewpg.ca. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. You can also hit us up on all the social medias as well as before. So hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Let us know what you think. Do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel while you are watching the vids. That would be very, very helpful for us. We greatly appreciate it. But yeah, Ottawa looked good last night, and they actually outplayed Vancouver. The future for the Senators actually looks quite bright, but obviously they're not going to get their poop in a group in time to actually make a push this year. That's a foregone conclusion that they're out. But next year, maybe some promise. Maybe they edge their way into the playoffs if they keep developing the talent over the offseason and all that. Who knows? Maybe it takes a couple of years. But if you're a Senators fan, now is a bad time. But there's a lot of potential on that lineup. Batherson's got 17 goals this year or something. He's looking great. There's a lot of really solid, like Stützle is great talent there. I'm sorry about this year and probably next year, but it's coming, Ottawa. Hang on. And important upcoming games for the Jets. I would say that they better not look anywhere past tomorrow night's game against Edmonton. They have to figure out how to play this game against Edmonton, because as we've mentioned, it's very likely that they're the team we're going to see first round of the playoffs. So I really think, the important games we mentioned, they've got that game tomorrow night, and then, they've got a couple of road games. But honestly, I think if they look anywhere past Edmonton, that's going to be the undoing of them tomorrow night. So it's going to be the last time they see Edmonton before the end of the season. So it's going to be the last time they see who is potentially their playoff matchup. and they really want to get as much information, as much of a feel for that as they possibly can going into the last few games of this year. League-wide, let's jump to the league for a sec. Vegas still on a 9-game winning streak. So I mentioned that last time. Colorado, they've lost 2 games, but they're also 7-3-0 in their last 10. So even though they took a couple of hits, they are absolutely on the top of the league as far as I'm concerned. Minnesota, 7-game winning streak, 8-1-1 in their last 10. And as far as the cold teams go, at this point, who cares? We're not going to talk about cold teams for the rest of the regular season. They just don't matter. It's at this point, we're just taking pot shots at teams. We're not discussing the potential of their recovery because there just isn't. So in our division, it's Toronto's in. I mean, 90% or more likely that they finish first overall. But the rest of the division is a little rough right now. It's going to be a very interesting playoff, and the format of it is a little odd. Are the Canadian teams going to play in the U.S. in their own bubble, or what's going to happen there? So lots still up in the air for the rest of the year. We would love to hear from you, though, if you want to let us know what your thoughts are. How do you think the Jets are going to fare? We'll use those previews after. I want to know what you think the Jets are going to do tomorrow night against the Edmonton Oilers. So call us or email us or whatever, and we'll use those when we're doing the analysis after the game on on Thursday at 11 a.m. We will be back here live. Hopefully, Mr. McKnight will be joining me as he normally does. It was kind of neat to sit here and hang out with I'm going to call him my co-host today, Kerry Bilkowski, because he was so on top of it today. I really appreciate that. And if you want to join us in the chat, 11 a.m. Thursday morning, that is going to be April 29th, to be very specific, of 2021, to be very, very specific. So we'll see you then. Other than that, yeah, again, follow us on all the social medias for our sponsor, who I'm very, very happy was here. Do I have that button? I don't have that. Oh, yeah, I do. Look. Ta-da. So, again, for myself and all the usual suspects that do a lot of work to make this show great, I am Mark Adam, and we will see you next time in the LZ.